is probably one of the more advanced tools. So I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen, let everybody get back oriented, get settled, and I left it exactly where it left off because I didn't want to change anything on you and confuse you about where we were. So this is where we left off. So really quick, I'm going to see by show of hands if you guys did the activity during the break, and if you were able to find a place, add a data layer, find a fact sheet. Karen says yes. Kevin says yes. Bridget, yes.
Jordan's
Cool.
a yes.
Oh, I didn't
All
see
right.
you raise a hand.
Bonnie just put up 4 fingers.
I like it.
Big time.
All right. Does anybody, so before I get started, does anybody have any questions for me? Or did you have any problems that you couldn't resolve that you want me to go over before I pick back up and show you some more stuff? And I'm going to try to open the chat over here so I can see it. Yeah, okay, Kristen, that's a good point. Technically, the mapping application can work on a phone, but it is not very phone friendly. It's difficult to push the buttons unless you've got a pretty nice size phone. It will work pretty well on a tablet. So anything above phone size, and it's just because those buttons don't have anywhere to go and it's hard to access on a phone. So just so you guys know, it can be used on a tablet. You can do it on a tablet. You could theoretically do it on a phone, but you'd have a tough time. That's been my experience, at least. Okay. Okay, Lisa, couldn't get to the website with the Zoom open. Okay, totally understandable.
It is really hard to not have 2 screens. I just got 2 screens today, and I feel like my whole world's about to change.
Yes. Okay, Karen, that's a good question about whether or not there's data available for everywhere. And whether or not there are some data layers that don't appear everywhere. And it's a great question, and the answer is yes. We have 2 different types of data, and I will cover the other data type that we have so that you guys can see where data is available, like where different types of data are available for different areas. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started again. I'm going to turn off our data sets that we had on before. Again, I'm not gonna remove them from what we call the active layer list. I'm just gonna close them and turn them off so that we're not confused by them. I'm gonna change my base map again because actually my favorite base map is the topographic base map. I don't know why, it just is. So I'm gonna do the topographic and I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Okay, there's a couple other things I wanna show you guys for your awareness. And that is, actually I'm gonna turn one of our data sets back on really quick. So I showed you how to access the eye icon from here and to get the map description and to get the fact sheet. There are some other features that you can access from a different menu once you add your data over here. So let's say you've gone through this data menu and you were interested in crops. So you added, let's say you added cotton crops and you were interested in, well, cotton wasn't a very good one. Let's try something else. Fruit. A little bit more. Aha, grain. All right, grain is a good one, so we'll add grain. And you added, I don't know, you're concerned about big game hunting recreation, or you're concerned about floodplains. You want to know if there are areas with impervious surface and floodplains. Let's do that. You can tell we have a lot of floodplain metrics. I'm trying to find that one. Aha. All right. So I'm just going to add a couple maps over here so we can see them. And you can see that every time I add a map, it layers it on top. So you can add as many as you want to this list, and then you can turn them off based on the ones you want to see at that time. So just so you know, that's kind of how you add data, and then you can look at it. Okay, there's some other features here. So let's say you open this menu and you see that this has the percentage of land area in estimated floodplains classified as developed. And that just essentially means in places that are likely floodplains, you have a lot of developed area. So that might get at if you have a lot of rain, you potentially have flooding, you might have water issues in these places that are dark blue. But you see how the menu here has pretty low percentages. So the way that we do our legends is it breaks them up into 5 different classes. You might want to change these classes to see whether or not you have highly developed areas. And you can do that by using this menu here and accessing some features. So just know that if you click the 3 dots, you get more features related to your data layer. One is changing the transparency. So let's say you want to look at a demographic data set with one of these environmental data sets. You could change the transparency of one of them and see both of your data sets together. So that's one option. Another thing you could do is change the appearance. Now this is an advanced function, but it might be something that you want to use as you start getting into exploring data. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to change the appearance of your data. Now it might come up totally one color. I haven't tried it in this area, so we'll all test it together. But here's what it looks like. So let's say you want to dictate what colors you have, and you want to dictate how it splits the data up. This is how you do it. So you could choose manual, and you could choose to change the data however you want. Or you can change the color. So let's say you want it to be on a purple gradient, and I don't know if it selected that or not. We'll see. Purple gradient, and you want to change it yourself because you want to see if it's more than 17%. So you change it yourself and you say, okay, show me what that looks like. So it didn't change my data colors, but it did change the manual break. And so now my menu is different. So just thinking about if you want to look at very high highs or very low lows, or if you want to change the data in a way that's more meaningful for you, that's how you do it. And it's just these 3 dots and change appearance. The rest of these functions, I doubt, so some of these are more advanced functions, accessing our data in other places, the in-depth metadata for each of our data layers, so that may be of less interest, but just know that that information is here if you're interested in it. Really quick, because someone mentioned this, I want to show the Find Your Place again, because some folks said it went by a little fast, so I want to be sure that you guys know how to do that. I will just type in a place. We'll go to the Minneapolis airport. Okay, once I find my place, it zoomed in. Here's the result for my place. I click these little 3 dots, and I say add a marker. And that is how I drop a point to the place that I was interested in. And that way, if I zoom out, my marker is still there. So I still have my marker. Now, if you want to save a marker permanently, you can do that in bookmarks. So you could go to bookmarks, which is this first box here, which has our mapping tools, and then bookmarks. And you could create any number of bookmarks you want. So you could bookmark your school. You could bookmark your home. You could bookmark all the places that are of interest to you. And they'll always be available in your web browser. And they'll always be here. You could go to bookmarks. You'll see all of your bookmarks. And you can create them and put them there. So like if we wanted to put Pontiac in here, and I'm going to apologize. It's been a while since I have done this. So I'm going to try it. But I might have to teach myself how to do this again. I think. Oh. So I give it a name. And I say add a bookmark, and now I have Pontiac bookmarked. So whatever I searched, once I type it in, it keeps Pontiac here, and now I have it. And I could do that as many times as I want, and as long as I use the same computer in the same browser, my bookmark will still be here. So I can do any number of places and put them here. So like if you have your students explore the same places, or you want them to be able to save places, that's exactly how they would do it.
Okay, that's so cool. I never knew that. Isn't that I'm on the team and I didn't know that.
Well, now you know, Jenna.
Yeah,
Cool.
This is very
now
cool.
might not be the right time, but Todd asked a question. You can answer it whenever you feel like is the right time, because I think you're going to get at this at the end, but he asked, is there a way to have everyone in my class show where they live and save that?
Yes, Todd, I will show you how to do that. It's a great question, and I will definitely show you how to do it. Okay, so we've covered a couple things, and I just want to reiterate what we've covered. We've covered how you find data. Now, clearly, I have not shown you all the data available in EnviroAtlas. It would take me hours and hours to do that. So part of the impetus for you guys and for your students is just to explore data that you think sounds cool. Now, someone asked me about what data is available where, and it's a good point. Can you guys show of hands if you're in the Chicago area, if you're in Green Bay, if you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, if you're in, there's one more I'm missing. Okay,
Milwaukee.
So let me, Milwaukee, thank you. I know we have some Milwaukee folks. They might not be on today. So let me show you So all the data sets I've showed you so far, all the ones we've turned on, are all available nationally. Anytime a data set has an N, that means it's available everywhere. You'll have data for your area. For any of the data sets that have a C, that means that they're only available in selected places across the US, and some of the communities where those are available I just mentioned. So I'm going to show you one of those data sets so you can see what it looks like. And then if you guys have questions for me, please ask. So any of these data sets that have a C are only available some places. So I'm going to turn one on. I'm going to zoom way out so you can see it. Okay. For any of these places that have a dot, that means we have additional data sets for those. So you still have 400 plus data sets, plus 400 plus data sets for demographics for everywhere, but then there's additional data sets in these communities. Let me show you what those look like. So as you zoom in, you can see them resolve. So we have, Green Bay, Milwaukee, we have, Chicago, which is very big. We have St. Louis, which does bleed into parts of where some folks might be. And let me show you what those look like. This data set right here is gray, but as I zoom in, it's going to turn black. And once it turns black, that means I'm at a scale where I can actually view these data sets. Now you can see it's taken it a while to load, and that's because these are very, very fine scale data for these communities. So if you are in one of these communities, there's actually quite a bit more information that's available. And so if you, and I'm going to keep zooming because it's going to take it a while to load. I should not have chosen Chicago. It's a huge area, but I'll keep zooming in so you can see it. So remember how we talked about the demographic data and how each of those units was a census block group? At this scale, for these data sets, these are also census block groups. So you could compare these data sets directly with the demographic data and get a sense of what's going on. So you might be curious what this map is. I turned on a map that shows the residential population not within 500 meters of a park entrance, meaning that all of these blue census blocks are not within 500 meters of a park entrance. Essentially, like, it's not super easy for them to get to a park. So if you do have these data, you might want to combine them with something like the demographic data, which I'll turn on again, so that you could then say, okay, well, where do we have a lot of low-income population, right, all the dark red, that don't have access to parks, right? And that kind of gets at equity, access, who can get to what easily, those types of concepts. So those are additional data sets. So again, if it has a C, that means it's going to have this scale of data. It's not available everywhere, but I will tell you that all the data with an N by it is going to give you a lot of information to explore in your communities. There will be a lot you can see with those. A lot of the community metrics give you more built environment type data, so more things about the built environment in your community. Okay, so I'm gonna now, which I already did a little bit, I'm gonna show you a little bit more about tools. We covered one of the tools, which is starting here and using mapping tools. So adding those bookmarks, if you want to, or you want your students to draw different things throughout your community, you can use this, where you could say, okay, we're going to focus on just this one area. Here's what it looks like. And then you can turn data on in that area and just use the draw tool to narrow down exactly what you're seeing. So you can draw lines, you can draw polygons, you can save those. Again, if you draw something, it's always going to save in your browser. You can always come back to it and say, add my drawing again. It gives you some options to kind of use these as a way to kind of draw the eye for different things. So the draw and measure tool can be fun and just a fun, tool to add more information. Okay. The next tool I'm going to show you, which might be a good starting place for a lot of your classrooms, potentially more advanced students, I would say, maybe middle school, high school. So Paul, I know you're talking, oh, he's talking to somebody else. Okay, just making sure. It's okay, Paul. I was just making sure you didn't have any questions.
No, my daughter Bailey just walked by. She's a Ninja Eco Warrior too. And I'm like, you got to see this. This is so cool.
Okay, good. Cool. I'm glad. Yeah, get Bailey in here. Okay, so the first tool I want to show you guys, so keep in mind, data is from here. We only covered 2 of the data menus. There are some other ones. I'll get to the last one. But here's where the tools are located. So mapping tools we went over. I'm going to skip this one for now. Todd already played with that one. We're going to go here. This tool is called Compare My Area. And let's say you just want your students to get a quick idea of what's going on in their area. You select this tool, and you can select one of two reports. This report is going to give you watershed information. And so what I do is I click it. I clicked somewhere in Illinois, and I hit watershed report. And it's going to run a report based on the area that I selected. And it's going to compare the watershed I selected to the surrounding county and surrounding state. So you don't have to select any data sets. You don't have to know anything about it. You can literally go in, click, and use this tool to get some quick metrics. Now you can see it's still loading, so I'm going to give it a chance to load and drink some water.
It's LaSalle
and
County.
See if you guys have any questions. What's that, Paul?
You pick LaSalle County, so it'll take a little bit longer because it's up a little bit further.
Is it big?
It's a big
Okay.
county.
Okay, so if you select the watershed report, here's what you get. You get the watershed you selected compared to the surrounding county, compared to the surrounding state. And this gives you some landscape metrics. So what's developed area look like? How much wetlands do you have? How much cropland do you have? And how does that compare to other places? So for instance, the watershed we selected has quite a bit more cropland than the state at large. It just gives you a quick way to compare your community to the surrounding community. There's a similar report that looks at more demographic information. So we talked about some of the demographics. So you go here, you select census tract, and you do the same thing. Click wherever you want. You say run a tract report, and then we'll give it a second to just load the tract report.
And these reports could do exactly what we were talking about at the beginning, right? Like, how do you scale up your story? Whatever your story is, like, how's that different from your neighboring communities? How's that different from your state? How, you know, and that kind of thing could help direct what kind of story you're telling and why.
It tells you where you're at as far as a comparison. I think that's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you don't have to crunch any numbers here. It kind of gives you all the information right away. I'm gonna let this load. Okay, so here we go. So here's what the census tract report looks like. It gives us a summary of those demographic indicators that we talked about. So things like minority populations, population below poverty level, young people, older people, all in one place, and you can compare those. And then this is the part that's a little bit more advanced, but I'll go ahead and cover it just so you guys are aware it's here. EPA has this report called the National Air Toxics Assessment. You might have heard of it before. We do not develop it with EnviroAtlas. We just pull the data in. And what it shows you is the ambient concentrations and cancer risk related to different air toxics based on that report. So in this case, formaldehyde is pretty high for the state, but less than, and I shouldn't say high, it's the highest in the state of all the ones we're looking at. But the tract that we selected is not as high as the rest of the state. But you could look at associated cancer risk for these air toxics, as well as non-cancer risk, and then non-cancer neurological risk. These, I say they're more advanced because the data, how do I say this? When you get at these risks, so a hazard quotient, even if a value might look high, if a hazard quotient isn't at 1 or higher, it's basically okay. So in this case, you're at 0.4 for the cumulative risk, and that's good, actually. So even though you're seeing a value, if it's not at 1, then it's not bad. And I'm not an expert, so just take that for as much as I know about these data, and we do have links to other places within EPA. Todd, did you have a question?
I just think that that's a really important thing that we'll have to say to our students so they don't freak out, right?
Yes.
You know, so they're like, holy cow, we're all going to get cancer. Here's how, here's why. No, hold on,
Yes.
hold on. You know, you got to understand what that hazard quotient really means. So,
Yes.
thank you for sharing.
And so, yeah, good point. And I think, you know, I would definitely like cover these data with, you know, high school students, but even so, you're right. You're still going to have to explain that data. And like I said, that's as much as I know about it. So it's a definitely an advanced topic, but it could be of interest. So that's the Compare My Area tool. And so just so you know, if you were interested in exploring those data more, so let's say you see something in the Compare My Area report, you saw that formaldehyde was higher, what you could do is actually explore those data here. So this is that pollutants category. If you go to the air toxics assessment, you can then look at the concentrations by pollutant type. So you can see here where there are hotspots, right? Darker blue means more, yellow means not very much in the scheme of things. So you could look at different pollutants and just kind of look at the concentrations for different pollutants and see what those are. So if you wanted to explore those data further, you could use the data compared to the tool that you used. Any questions about that? Or comments?
We have some good feedback in the chat.
Good.
Lisa said that she never imagined that all this data would be available in one place. She's excited about using it, even for just her own interest.
Cool.
So
I think it's also important to note that while we're looking at this and picking out these various maps and during various topics, this is also a good time to think about, okay, you know, I'm not real sure what this means. Now, who do we reach out to answer whether that's a high or a low level, and to draw on maybe some of the EPA scientists or the fact sheets or some of our local citizens who are involved in that type of decision-making process at the county level. So I think that it at least also sparks a question for the students to ask questions, right?
Yeah, great point.
And then I got a private message anonymously asking, like, we kind of need to know more about what this hazard quotient means. So I don't know if there's a way that we can, if there's something we can point to that answers that question better online.
Yeah, great question. So if you run that report and you get to these risks and the NADA data, scroll down and you see all these links throughout here, you're going to want to use those. So how does EPA estimate cancer risk? What more information do I have available? What are frequently asked questions related to those data? We put all those links there, and this is the definition of a hazard quotient and the link to the hazard quotient page. So yes, please explore that. Like I said, I'm not an expert on those data. We provide all of these data as a service for people to be able to explore, but certainly there's quite a bit of information out there on each of those. Okay, we are rapidly running out of time. So I want to cover a few more things for you guys, and then I really want to reiterate that the teacher hours are going to be really important because there's a lot here, and I'm showing you this much of what's available in the interactive map. So what I would love for you all to do is go do some exploring on your own and then come back to me with questions, because I know you'll have them, and that's what I'm here for, and I'm happy to answer those. Okay, I want to show you a couple more tools so you know that they're here, and you can think about how you might want to incorporate them into curricula or otherwise. So we covered Compare My Area. I'm going to skip this one just for a second, and I'm going to go to this one right here. This tool is called the Raindrop tool. I'm going to cross my fingers. We've been having some issues on the backside, but I'm going to hope everything works okay so I can show you guys this tool. So we do have a lesson plan that uses this tool, and you just hit Activate Tool, and now it says Select Points. And you'll see that I turned on a data set called NHD Plus version 2 features. That's not a very friendly name. Basically, that is, what are the water lines? So I turned on the water lines so you can see those. So what you do with this tool is you say select a point, and you just select a point. And then what it's going to do is it's going to trace the most likely flow path of a raindrop to the nearest water body from where you dropped it. So I dropped my point. It traced the flow path to this water body. Now I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to do it again and hope I don't break it. Okay. And then it's going to take a second. Now you see how this one actually goes up here. It doesn't go to this one. And that's because it's based on digital elevation models that show you where a raindrop might fall. So this is a really cool tool. It works best if you're in a rural area or an area that's not highly engineered. So if you're in Chicago, this tool's not going to work as great because there's so much infrastructure. But if you're in a more rural area, this is a pretty good estimate of where water is going to fall. So just a quick example of a tool we have, that's called the Raindrop tool. It's this one here.
And even if you're in an urban area, I've done this with, I push a lot of the lesson plans out to teachers all around everywhere. And when I'm doing it with teachers in an urban setting where there is built infrastructure and stormwater drains, I have them have the students compare where the map says it goes, and then they go out in person and kind of like trek around and say, well, what's different about how we have altered the landscape here? Where does your map say it goes, but where does it actually go? And they point down to the ground and they're like, it goes in that storm drain. And so you can say like, yeah, so what the map shows topographically isn't exactly the same based on stormwater infrastructure. So you can talk about stormwater infrastructure and retention ponds as part of the conversation while still using the tool.
And so Karen asked, how do you open it again? So all the tools are accessible from these little icons at the top, and Raindrop is number 5. Okay, really quick, I'm going to show you 2 more tools, and then Jenna's going to cut me off when I absolutely need to stop talking. And I'm going to see you, Jenna, and you're going to say, stop talking, and I'll say, okay.
I'm yelling at people, I'm cutting people off. I feel like everyone's getting the wrong impression of me here.
No, that's okay. I know we want to stay on track. This is a really quick tool I want to show you. It's called the Elevation Profile tool. So right next to Raindrop, here we are, Elevation Profile. Turn it on by clicking this little ruler, and then just drop a point, go over however far you want, and double click and drop a second point. And it's freaking out on me right now.
Does anybody teach earth science? This is like earth science, digital elevation profiles. I don't know if that's in your standards, but it's hardcore in the North Carolina standards.
Yeah, but it is like not cooperative. Oh no, you guys.
It's because it's flat there?
It's, no, oh here it goes, it's running. Okay, I was like, what happened? The dots were like jumping around. Let's see, we'll let it run. We'll see what happens. Okay, here we go. So from the area that I selected, here's the change. That can't be right, you guys. I'm gonna say that's not right.
Oh, but that's just in feet.
Yeah, so it's in feet, but look how it's all the same. So that can't be right. I think, I'm gonna run it one more time. No, I think, all right, that's how the tool works, but I think it's having some kind of issue because it shouldn't be, it was so even. I don't think that was a correct elevation result.
Sometimes Jessica works the tool too hard.
I know, I worked everything too hard. So we'll skip it, but just know you drop a point, you go over, you double click and drop another point, and it'll show you the elevation profile.
You know what? I wonder though if maybe it's actually correct. It's just that there's different like channels and streams. And so it's looking at those rivers or whatever.
They were so even. Do you think so? Maybe. I mean, they looked, so you see how the tool's running because I double clicked it too many times. So the tool is running. And here's one of my points, but I'm not sure where the other one is. So I don't, if it returns something, I don't know what it'll be. Yeah, see, I must have double clicked in the same spot. So I'm going to close that. That is a tool we have. Okay, last 2, and then I'm going to shut up. This is a tool called the Huck Navigator. It highlights watersheds. Or maybe I just broke all the tools, you guys. I might have to like refresh. Okay, so this is a good point. If you get to the point where you've done everything that I've done in the mapping application and you've been using it for an hour and it starts to get weird on you and you're like, I don't know what's happening, maybe something's running in the background, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just refresh because, you know, we've done a lot in the map and there's a lot going on. So I'm going to call it here. I'm going to show you one more thing and then we're going to move on to our next activity. The last thing in the map I want to show you is something called Save Session, because this is something you're probably going to want to make use of. So similar to dropping your bookmarks and saving your bookmarks and coming back to them, and your students can do the same thing, you can do Save Session the same way. So let's say I add all these maps. They're the maps I want to keep. I want to keep all of these in the collection. All I do is go to this icon right here. It's called Save Session, and none of these are opening, I think, because something is trying to do something. This is that point where I need to refresh, but I know we are running out of time. All right, I'm going to show you guys Save Session later because I'm at the point where I need to refresh and I know we're over time. Just know that if you add data sets here, you can use this tool to save them all. So you can save the exact place where you zoomed in, you can save all the data sets you added, and you can come back to them later and access them. Jenna, I was going to bring in the map of points, but I might be past my ability to do that at this point.
Overtaxing the
real
tool.
Quick, is when I save a session, does that mean I have to be at like the same computer to then get back up to it? So yep, great question. If you save a session, you're going to want to use the same computer and the same browser, but you can download your session.
So once you save your session, and you guys, I'm just gonna like refresh as I'm talking here, because I know that like once the browser goes crazy, you just open another one and it goes fine. It works great. So just know that like if it gets a little weird, normally you can go right back to it and it works totally fine. Yeah, so Todd, you can save your session. So once you save it, you can hit download. You can email it to whoever you want. You can email it to whatever computer you want, and that way you can access that session anytime from any computer.
Just don't clear your history, right? Or your cookies.
If you save it and download it, it won't matter if you cleared your cache, because you can always get it back. If you didn't download it, correct. If you clear your browser cache, you won't be able to get your session back. And so I restarted the map so you can see what the save session looks like. This is all it is. Once you put all your maps in your list, you type in the name, it saves it, and then you can load from a file or save to a file. I do want to show you guys bringing the map in, but I'm going to stop for our next activity. If we get a chance, I will show you how to take that Google My Maps map. This gets to the question that Paul or Todd asked about, can you document something and bring it into the application? The answer is yes. You can add any of your own data here. EnviroAtlas has a ton of data, but it doesn't have all data. So if there's data out there, we encourage you to encourage your students to find it, and you can pull it directly in from this area. That's probably something we'll have to cover at another time. So just know that it's available, and I will show it to you soon, hopefully.
I feel like, can we get a round of applause for Jessica?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really
Sorry,
awesome.
guys. It's always whirlwind, and there's a lot more to show you. So like I said, I hope we can use the teacher sessions as a way to just discover and keep looking at new map stuff.
Cool. How's everybody feeling? Okay? Good? Okay. Kevin gave 2 thumbs up, so Kevin's really doing good. All right, awesome. We have one more activity we're going to do with you, and this is, we're going to go back into breakout rooms. It is based off of one of the lesson plans that we have, and it kind of hints at what Jessica was talking about, a couple of things she was talking about specifically with human health. And so the whole tool, all of EnviroAtlas really hinges on this concept called ecosystem services, or the benefits that humans receive from nature. An ecosystem services like air quality, water quality, recreation, any way that we get a benefit from nature. And so we're going to very, very quickly talk about that in these breakout rooms. But this is, and I feel like with COVID-19, this is as important as ever. I feel like a broken record. I said that earlier today too, but this is where I take my son. Some of you saw him, he was on the call when we were getting started. This has been like our total source of solace during COVID-19. We'll go here some mornings and just splash around in the river. There's nobody there. I will not tell you where it is because it'll give up our secret spot. But I guess in the chat, as we're going through, if you have a spot like this, many of you have already mentioned your spot. And so we heard about those already, like Rocky Coastal Maine for Lauren and Gunflint Trail that Jessica pulled up to. So if you can just think about if you have a place like this going forward that really is not just a place for you to recreate, but it gives benefits, actual benefits to you. Like when I go here, I am less stressed out. My kid gets to run around and gets his energy out. I always come home and work better and I'm more focused. And so these are some of the human health benefits of spending time in nature. And there are ways that we try in EnviroAtlas to tie together that human component and human health component and the environmental layers component, like you were just looking at. And so we have one activity that ties those things together. It's called Connecting Ecosystems and Human Health. And due to COVID, we have turned it into a virtual activity that we're going to do with y'all. And so how it works is that we're going to go back into breakout rooms. You will be in a breakout room based on an ecosystem service. So you will either be, and Jessica, do you have the agenda open so you can start to pop some of the links into the chat? Cool. You will either be in the room of aesthetics and engagement with nature with Kelly. And so you'll know you're in there because Kelly will say hi and you'll realize that's the room you're in. Or you'll be in the room for recreation and physical activity with Lauren, and Lauren is here. And thank you, Lauren, you've been here the whole time. So it's so good to have you. The third group will be heat hazard mitigation. And mitigation is like a classic, at least it was when I was teaching AP Environmental Science, like APE's buzzword. So hopefully this is a good way for you to tie some of that in. And then air quality will be the fourth room with Jessica. And so how it will work, I'll quickly show you, or do y'all just want to show in your rooms what they're going to do? Do you want me to explain it? I feel like our facilitators got it. Let's get into breakout rooms. You guys have been in here for too long. Okay, so you're going to go into your breakout rooms and your facilitators are going to tell you what to do. And then we'll come back. Any questions? You can't have questions because I haven't told you what you're doing. So have fun.
Sorry, I gotta unmute myself over here, Dylan. Sorry, you guys. The two screens. Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay, invite me again and I'll join both. Okay. All right. All right. Hey, you guys. Sorry, I have these two computers going, so it's a little bit crazy. Okay, so we are the air quality breakout group. I'm pretty sure I have all these screens. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drop a Jamboard link into the chat. And you guys at this point have all used Jamboards, right? A little familiar with Jamboards? Okay, so let me drop a link in. Everybody open the Jamboard link and give me a thumbs up when you have it open. It's working fine. And you can see it. Let's see, I want to be sure. Okay, cool. And I'm going to open it too.
I'm the one that's having lots of technical issues because of all the storms. So I may have to like kind of go back and forth on my phone, just as a heads up.
No worries, Kristen. Do whatever you can do. I totally understand. It's so hard to do stuff on a phone too. So just let me know. Okay, so does everybody have the Jamboard open? And Kristen, I know you might have need a second to turn everything off.
I'm in.
Okay, Karen, do you see the board? Jessica, Todd, get the Jamboard open?
Mine's loading.
Okay, cool. Let me know when you're all loaded. And I'm going to go over this really quick.
While we're waiting, what's the difference between like just Jamboard and a Google slide or a PowerPoint that's shared?
Yeah, okay, so Google Slides are exactly what you just said. They're like a PowerPoint. You would build a presentation, you'd share a presentation, that would be it. A Jamboard gives you an interactive way to do something all at the same time. So there's only a couple of functions in a Jamboard. There is write something down, drop a sticky note, insert a picture, and that's it. So it's kind of cool, like if you want to just do the quick activity, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to do a quick activity. It gives you a way to like all interact at the same time without, there's not that many functions, so you can't really get too lost in it, basically.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, if everybody just wants to look at their Jamboard, you don't have to look at me. We'll look at the Jamboard really quick. And if you want to just be sure you're on slide 1, and you'll see that at the top. And slide 1 shows breakout number 4, air quality, and a picture of probably somewhere on this. Everybody good?
Picture, did you say?
Yeah, there should be, yeah, on slide 1, there is, it says breakout room number 4, air quality, and it has a photo.
Okay, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's us. Now, if you go to the second slide, it's going to cover the concept of air quality as an ecosystem service. So what Jenna was talking about. So when we are in cities, we have more pollution. When we have green things in a city, like trees, grasses, other things, it can benefit air quality. Typically, trees is the most common thing that will remove air pollutants. And so what this ecosystem service explores is direct health outcomes that relate to air quality. So when we have trees nearby, or when we have less pollution or more pollution, how that affects our health in different ways. So if you guys want to choose from this slide, or I'll assign you one, a topic that you want to read more about, either anxiety, happiness, cognitive functioning, high blood pressure, longevity, or low birth rate, And if you choose one, I'll just assign it to you really quick. Or if you want me to just assign you one, I'll do it right now.
I'll take high blood pressure, please.
Okay.
Alex, for 300.
All right.
I'll do anxiety.
Anxiety. Okay, that's Jessica.
I'll do
Todd?
happiness.
All right, Kristen's got happiness.
I will do, what's the one right below happiness?
That one's already taken,
Oh,
Todd.
that's right. Okay. So I guess cognitive function.
Cognitive functioning. Okay. All right, you guys. So if you navigate to the other slide, so if you keep going right, you're going to see bigger versions of these cards. So whichever one you signed up for, just navigate over, find your card, and what I want you to do is read the connection for air quality and whichever topic you chose. And feel free to read it. What this gets at is, again, how our health is directly related to air quality in general. And then let me know when you're done, and I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna chat. So just take a second to read your card. I'll choose one of the cards and read it, and then we'll all converge in just a second. Make sense?
Should we put our name on our little sticky note on the slide?
Yeah, if you want to, definitely. Just insert your name at the top.
All right.
And you guys just let me know when you feel good about your card.
I'm good.
Good.
Everybody good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. You can keep your Jamboard accessible because I want you to drop a sticky note if you get a chance. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick so we can just all see the same thing. So I will start. I chose low birth weight, and what I'm going to do is just read about how low birth weight connects to air quality. So on my card, it said increasing total greenness and less air pollution in mothers' homes has been linked to small increases in birth weight and slightly lower odds of preterm birth. So that's like a direct linkage from the literature around air quality. So if you guys want to go through and just read your cards, I'll start here and go around, and we'll just discuss these connections and then talk about what we were surprised about, basically. Like, did we know these connections? Were they things we knew about and had thought about?
Could you or are you just going to pull up each person's card?
Yep.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
All right, Jessica, do you want to do anxiety?
Sure. The air quality, there's a study in California that showed that higher levels of ozone in the air caused increase in anxiety levels. And then are we going to talk about all that stuff after?
We can if you guys
loud?
want. So we're mostly going to focus on air quality, but one of the things we're going to do after this is actually look at some of these other connections too.
Okay.
But if you guys want, like after we get through air quality, we want to chat about everything. Totally cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just on my card. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who I'm interrupting.
No, I'm sorry. I just popped in. I'm just saying your group's way ahead of all the other groups. I just popped in on everyone. So feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jenna.
I just thought mine is kind of interesting because obviously I feel like a lot of us as science teachers enjoy nature, which is why we're part of this process anyway. And if you look at the first two with aesthetics and engagement and recreational, how much it reduces everything, and then how just the air quality and heat provide the opposite to people's emotional health. So
yeah, so we talk about these, we typically split these up, and Jenna might talk about this into like buffering services and then like hazard mitigating. So like what happens when you have each of these and kind of, you know, how we interact with them basically. And so was the anxiety and air quality linkage surprising to you at all?
No, I mean, so right now I'm up in the Northwoods, Wisconsin, but I teach on the Northwest side of Chicago. And I mean, anytime there's a heat wave, you see a lot of unhappy people out, and it's just, and then including air quality, I just think the levels of people's health with asthma and whatnot, just what are hanging out in the Northwoods has helped my own anxiety levels for everything that's been happening. And just to be somewhere 15 degrees hotter sounds miserable, you know? And then air quality, you know, and just thinking of the students that we serve, so.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about air quality and heat is they actually compound. When it's hotter, air quality is typically worse. Like they feed off of each other, and it's sort of this, you know, it all ends up being a little rough. So, all right, Kristen, you want to do happiness? If you can see it on your phone. If you can't, I'll totally read yours. No worries.
No, I was able to get to see the air quality. So what they mentioned with the relationship to air quality is that nitrogen and the lead levels go down within the air, and of course the dogs start barking. Then studies have shown that happiness levels increase. Two particular elements can cause a major adjustment.
Awesome. All right, Todd, cognitive functioning and air quality.
All right. Higher air pollution levels have been linked to lower cognitive functioning in both children and older adults.
Is that surprising to anybody?
It surprises me that it's just kids and older adults.
Not in between?
Like they don't measure, you know, middle of life people, or what's going on here?
That's actually a good point. So, you know, one of the things they talk about, like with environmental justice or in general, is vulnerable populations, and younger people and older people are vulnerable populations. So it might be that you're right, that they haven't even studied people in mid ranges, or if they did, they might not have found significant effects. So I actually don't know which one it is, though. I don't know if they haven't studied them or if they just didn't find much. So that's a good point. Okay, high blood pressure.
Oh, he disappeared.
Uh-oh, did we lose Karen?
Oh, she's back.
Sorry about that. My children were getting a little excited out there.
No problem.
Blood pressure is also related to air quality, and the more pollution, the higher the blood pressure, and vice versa. So talking about exercise and how exercise can help lower blood pressure. I also thought that obviously when it's hot and nasty, and it is nice that they do those alerts now, you know, like my mom has a lung disease, so she's checking her phone. Like she checks the weather now, she checks the air quality, you know, so I think that's something people are starting to pay more attention to. But you're less likely to, you know, go for a jog or go for a walk if it's bad air quality. And so, you know, there's the question of, is it the pollutants that are causing the connection there, or is it just that you're less likely to exercise if it is bad air quality, and so you're not getting that benefit of the exercise? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit of both. I think, and there's quite a few studies related to blood pressure and air quality where essentially pollutants are just, I mean, you know, we know this, pollutants, you know, air pollutants are bad for us, but specifically related to blood pressure, there's quite a bit there that shows that like it really affects, you know, our bodies and our chemistry and how we respond. Okay, so it seems like we had a couple of these connections that might have been surprising and others that probably weren't. I'm going to go to this slide and see if there is anything that you guys want to add here, either on your own in the Jamboard for anything that did surprise you. It could be related to air quality, or it could be related to some of the other connections, or if there's anything about how this relates to your life. And some of you actually already mentioned some of this, so feel free to either add a sticky note, or if you want to direct me to add a sticky note, I'll add one for you. Just to kind of have, you know, thinking about air quality, thinking about how having a, you know, a greener environment improves our air quality and what that might mean for our health overall. or anything else related that you think is of interest. And we can just chat too.
My husband and I are actually thinking next summer about like where could we go besides Chicago, in a large part because of air quality, and like getting out more consistently into nature instead of day trips and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How old are your kids, Karen?
They are soon to be 12, 9, and 6.
The Northwoods are pretty awesome.
What's that?
The Northwoods are pretty awesome. I was going to also suggest Boundary Waters, but I think that's the kids are too young still. You know.
Well,
I was at Voyagers last week, and I think that's doable. We brought our kids. Have not worked up to bringing them to Boundary Waters yet, but
I so want to go to Boundary Waters, man.
we, my husband, before, he's a teacher too. Before he was a teacher, he was a fisherman. And so he actually has some connections, and I think we're going to be buying a fishing place in Alaska. I think we're going to be in Alaska every summer. I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh, that is exciting.
We're waiting on like the loan, you know, so
Wow.
Wow.
we'll see.
Very cool.
Jess,
That's
what
awesome.
school do you teach at?
What's that?
Taft High School?
Oh, okay. So Karen and I are Whitney Young.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Howdy. And Kristen, where are you that you're having all these storms?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you're on mute.
It wouldn't let me unmute because I had the timer was up. I'm in Brownsburg, Indiana, which is just west of Indianapolis.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to get pulled back into the main room. If anybody wants to volunteer to report out for the air quality group, just.
Hey, Jenna.
Welcome back. Hope I didn't cut anyone off too terribly.
No, but we were just in the middle of sort of reiterating what our mission was on Report Back, so I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I just started talking about reporting back when we came back.
And Jess, just so you know, I was waving goodbye and there was a lag. And then you asked the question of who wants to report out. That was not me volunteering.
So I'm hearing that Todd volunteered. Todd, you're breaking up. I think you just volunteered.
Yeah.
Also, Jessica, I think the audio on your other device is louder for what it's worth. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hi, and welcome back. Hope that wasn't too fast, but that is something that you could model. I know that some groups were moving along faster than others, but that is something that you can model in what. Okay. I know that you don't have facilitators you just have one of you and all your students. So what I tried to do was just like pop into every room and check in on everyone. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, you decide what works for you, but it could work to kind of facilitate here and there a little bit with each group as you're able. So I think we might have had a couple volunteers to report out from each room. So I'm going to share a screen and we'll do that pretty quickly. We had a little more time for this, but we're running short on time. So we'll probably keep this to just like one interesting fact that each group found while talking about their ecosystem service and the connections to human health. So aesthetics and engagement with nature, I think this was the group with Kelly. Do you have anyone that would like to share?
I'm gonna volunteer Megan.
Like it, voluntold.
Okay. Thanks. Well, I mean, I think we all had very similar feelings during the kind of introduction, and then also we were a little surprised about the percentages here, about how high the percentages were. I think that was a little surprise, but we all did agree with them, especially, you know, about, yeah, I mean, if you pick any of them, like the cardiovascular disease or the, you know, ADHD, the percentages we were all kind of nodding that all of this is good, but the percentages were just really high. So good.
Want me to pull up any others specifically?
No, we essentially just got through these right at the end of the time.
Yeah.
So it was perfect timing.
Cool. Great. All right. Group number 2 was recreation and physical activity with Lauren. And do you have anything on, had a couple things on here. I'll just make these a little bigger for folks to read. And Lauren, did y'all have a person that was willing to share?
Yeah, it's me. It's Tina. I got it.
Tina.
Yay. I think the biggest thing was just like how much your health will improve by just being outdoors even, and being near green spaces, whether or not you actually put physical activity, that'll be even better. And then a lot of us just talked about how our own self-esteem and just how we feel about ourselves was so much better when we were able to involve that. One thing that surprised me, like when I was reading through, was like just even being able to look at green, like trees and stuff, would help kids perform better. Just being able to see it from their windows, and it has that kind of impression, or that, you know, that quality. It's amazing just to be able to see it. Like if you're not looking at green space at all, you know what's going to happen. So I love that idea, as especially as Milwaukee is greening itself out more and more. I think it's really important that that's something that we emphasize.
Cool. There's some really good stuff on here too. Like every one of these Post-it notes, I'm like, check, check, check. Yes, 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 me too. And so maybe that's one way you can get your students to feel connected to each other, even when they're not together in person. It's a good one. Cool.
Can I just add on something real quick?
Definitely.
My family and I did a week or so ago. Up in Pleasant Prairie area in Wisconsin, there's this, it's like an outdoor adventure ropes course for like kids and adults, and it was really awesome. It's a little expensive, like at like $40 a person or so, but for a couple of hours, you get a phenomenal workout, and everyone's pretty tired at the end. But you do these like cool high ropes course that are really challenging, but levels for all, you know, all types of kids in terms of if you're 7 years or older, you can do it. So if you're in the area, it might be something to do with your kids.
Yeah, put the link in the chat. You can find. Cool. All right, so group 3 was heat hazard, right? With Erica. So let's get you over here. You can see a couple of these. Erica, did you have a volunteer?
Yeah, I can share out for this one. So I looked specifically at some data on mortality, and it was just kind of shocking. And I think just a good reminder that, I guess what I talked about in our group was that we talk about planting trees as solutions to like flooding, and as solutions to filtering groundwater, and solutions to filtering pollutants out of the air. And those can be a little bit harder to like wrap your mind around. They sometimes seem like a little bit longer term benefits. They're harder to actually visualize. You can't really see trees like actively take in pollutants. We know they do it, but it's kind of like a vague, amorphous, you know, benefit that we know is there, but isn't real tangible. But lives are a far more tangible thing. So when you talk about, you know, this heat wave in Chicago, and there's actually there was one in Europe, I want to say in like the early 2000s, that killed like thousands and thousands of people. I mean, it was like tens of thousands of people, I think, that they attributed deaths to because of the heat wave. And so that was just a more tangible sort of reminder that trees can lower, you know, surface temperature in a way that saves lives, which is an easier way to kind of wrap your mind around, especially when you're talking to students about this. So that was just a powerful reminder to me.
That's a really awesome point. That was great. I mean, right? It's hard to talk about these things and be like, good point, but totally tragic. But I think you're right. It's hard to have something that isn't tangible be tangible. And we hope that this activity is one way that a lot of these different pieces are, if not totally tangible, then you at least know somebody in your family or near you that might have one of these. When I do this with students, and I probably should have done it with y'all too, but we were a little pressed for time, I just say, like, raise your hand if you know someone in your family, and we can do it right now, that has ADHD. Okay, keep your hands up. What about COPD? Keep your hands up. Anxiety, cardiovascular disease, respiratory symptoms, mental health issues. And by the end, like, everybody's hand is up, right? And you can say, keep your hands up if you know how all of these might be connected to the environment. And it's like, boom, all the hands go down. And so you're exactly right, Jordan, that this does make some of these things more accessible to students where they might not be otherwise. So that's a great point. All right, last up we have air quality group that was with Jessica. And
I was just getting to a nominee if anybody wants to volunteer from the air quality group.
I think Todd volunteered. I heard Todd volunteer.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. So with air quality, what we had found, oh, interesting, I never saw those. What we had found was that, like, cognitive ability, breathing, depression, anxiety, all of those things increased as a result of poor air quality. You know, and so, oh yeah, happiness decreased though. I assume we saw more episodes of lower birth rate and less longevity of life with lower quality, or with lower air quality.
Can I bounce in?
Yeah.
Because we, something I think that was also interesting is that the aesthetics and engagement and recreation for, like, every single area was definitely, obviously, improved air quality leads to improved happiness, cognitive function, health. And then the lower air quality leads to, you know, higher anxiety, high blood pressure, and then looking at some of the low air qualities and how, I think, Todd, that was yours, that had the lower cognitive functioning with, like, young children and older adults. But it was, I mean, it is ironic that we don't pay more attention to air quality when it's so directly tied to our health and happiness.
Well, maybe now we will. Hashtag COVID-19.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're gonna do one more activity with this that kind of ties all of these together. I popped in on one group, and I think it was Jessica that was saying it actually, like, this is great that we're talking about air quality, but some of this other stuff on here is really interesting too. Can we talk about the other parts of our cards? And so there is one activity where we kind of see how all the things are connected together. That's in this link that you just got. That should take you to, if you click on it, don't do anything yet, students. I'm going to talk to you like you're my high school students. Don't do anything yet. But you can click on the link and have a look, and you'll see hopefully a screen that looks like this. And I'll wait just to make sure everybody's there. Are folks there? I know some of you are having a hard time accessing other things while also in Zoom. So I am sorry about that. I know that that can be problematic. So what we're trying to do here with this is show the connections between pretty much everything, right? How so much of our human health outcomes are connected to these ecosystem services. So if you had a chance to look at some of the other things that your card is connected to, your cards are all here to the right if you need them. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go by group. So first we're gonna start with group 1, which was aesthetics and engagement with nature. And you'll come over here to the pen tool. Does everyone see where I am? And you will grab a green pen and you'll make a connection between your health outcome, whatever it was, to aesthetics and engagement with nature. And so for this first round, let's go ahead and start there just with the aesthetics group. So whenever you're ready, nice. Let's make it green though. So you can come back and erase if you need. So we got cardiovascular disease. And Jessica, I feel like on the agenda you were leading this, so sorry I just started talking. Feel free to take
No
over.
worries.
Happiness. And also, like, maybe the leader from each group. So Kelly, if you want to talk about how aesthetics is playing out here, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, I think I will because I am having trouble getting, I'm trying to draw the line. If somebody could do the longevity as well.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and we did talk about this, how we actually do the activity in person like this, and it's just really cool how we see all the connections with it. And one of the things that we talked about in our group was even like medication. If you can, if you can be in nature, walk, look at nature, and one of them was like just walking in the woods, reducing your heart rate compared to walking in the city. And one of the folks in our group mentioned that she
careful, don't move the board.
But one of the things she mentioned is that with her Fitbit, she can actually see the difference walking in the forest. So for those of you, I don't have a Fitbit, but if you do have a Fitbit, you could, do that experiment and just, walk in more of a woodsy area and in the city and just see what the difference is. So I thought that was really interesting.
Cool. All right, let's have the second group go with the red. I see that's already happening. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to let them go. So if you had recreation and physical activity, go ahead and draw how your health outcome was connected to that. And then we can have group 3 with your yellow lines connecting heat hazard mitigation to your health outcomes whenever you're ready. And then let's go ahead and have group 4 for air quality in blue connect to yours too. And again, we're just going from the blue cards to the orange cards. So although a lot of people are sometimes tempted to go orange to orange, we're just doing blue to orange. So just ecosystem service to health outcome. And so it starts to look, I guess the right word is messy and complicated, right? And I think that's the point, that all of these are connected in some way. And if we start to have a significant decrease in air quality, for example, then you can watch so many of these things fall out. High blood pressure, low birth weight, anxiety. And so just how important nature is to us for more reasons than like just fun and spending time outside, but also like real tangible, like Jordan was saying, impacts on our human health. Cool. Any other comments from anyone before we move on?
And Jenna, do you just want to go to the next slide again, just to show them what this looks like in person, since Kelly mentioned
Definitely.
it? So yeah, so this is an activity that we built for in-person use, but we've adapted it in this way to be used virtually. And so, normally in person, the students build a web, and you can see a couple of images of what that looks like when they toss this ball of yarn around and kind of build the same web that you're doing here, what that looks like in person.
Right. And I think the most important part is that all of this is built off of a tool that we have in EnviroAtlas. So if you could just kind of close down the Jamboard, and we'll move on to this really quickly. This is another tool that we have called the EcoHealth Relationship Browser. And I absolutely love using this with students. It's basically one of those things that you're like, go explore for 20 minutes and come back and tell me what you find. And they can really drive it themselves and get at some of these connections. So for example, I love some of the stuff where Tina was talking about, which one did you have, Tina? Were you recreation? And so yes. I love some of the stuff you were saying there, that you can just get some of this, all of these health outcomes that are connected to recreation and physical activity. What I love about the EcoHealth Relationship Browser is that you want to know about anything, you click on that bubble and it moves. So if you want to know about anyone interested in any of these topics, anything you want me to click on?
Oh, self-esteem.
Self-esteem, good one. Okay, so you click on self-esteem, it pops that into the middle, and you get a little write-up about what it is on this right panel. And then you can see the 2 ecosystem services that self-esteem is connected to. But the kicker that makes this tool absolutely amazing, in my opinion, is that if you click this little I button, that takes you to the compressed scientific journal articles that back up this information with data. So you can see the evidence here that shows the sample size, where it took place, who the author is. And if you click this, let's say you want to know more about this. I think this was one of, is this the one about, Erica would know, forest bathing? There's a lot of stuff about forest bathing now. You can go straight to the bibliography where it takes you to more information about that study and the citation. So you could have your students like essentially write a paper with actual citations using real data about whatever thing that might be interested to them, because maybe they care about self-esteem, or maybe like me, they have a parent with arthritis, and you just write about the thing that touches you and your family. And it's just another way to bring some of those stories to life and back them up with data that your students might have using another tool from EnviroAtlas.
So Karen asked forest what? It's called forest bathing, Karen. If you go to, if you do like aesthetics and engagement with nature or recreation and physical activity, a lot of those articles, it's in Japanese culture, it's called Shinrin Yoku, and it's in English, it's forest bathing. There's quite a bit of literature about how engaging with just walking through a forest, sitting in a forest, spending time in a forest, and forest bathing affects and impacts your health.
I just want to remind everybody this is a G-rated show, so there's nothing else going on there.
Oh yeah, bathing just means spending time outside. I think it's fully clothed as far as I know. And we actually have the EcoHealth expert on our EnviroAtlas team here with us today. Some of you had the pleasure of being in her group in heat hazard mitigation, but Erica is here. So Erica, I'd love to take just a minute if you have that to add anything you want to add, or just talk about how awesome you are.
Always love to talk about that. No, but I'd be happy to have people send questions my way. I love to chat about this, and I'm in deep with all this literature, and it's really exciting and amazing and complex and rich, and yeah.
Yeah, Erica's, not her main job, but kind of her main job is to be the person that reads all of these scientific journal articles, distills them down into 2 sentences that make sense, and adds them into the browser. And so she is like a journal reading queen. And I always tell this when I talk to teachers, I'm so glad we have this tool, and I'm also so glad it's not my job. But we're really lucky to have someone like Erica whose job it is, and who loves it, and really takes great pride in it, and is updating the tool all the time. They're about to, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell tool secrets, but they're allowed to, they're about to release new health outcomes that they found from new research, like adding in vision and how that's connected to ecosystem services. And Erica is the one that gets to do that and determine that. And it's a really cool thing she's doing.
Jenna, it actually, that will be coming live really soon. In the next few weeks, that we'll have sort of rolling updates, but a first big chunk of updates from with 3 more years of worth of literature, and like she said, new health topics. And I spent a lot of time on a lot of the water quality related health impacts and ecosystems to water quality. We did a bunch on air quality, and we did and now we're getting in, and then in a few months we'll do some additional updates. So you'll find lots of new evidence coming soon. And if you want to tell me that any of my summaries don't make sense, please let me know, because I would love to. We're interested in always making it better. So I would absolutely love to have you reach out.
Cool, thanks, Erica. All right, last thing we're gonna do before we close down. One more thing. Oh, also, if our facilitators have to leave, maybe we can thank them real quick. So thank you, Kelly and Lauren and Erica, for joining us from the EPA. Really happy to have y'all on board. So the last thing I'd like to talk about is that we do have educational materials, and ta-da, you just did one. So you just did one of the lesson plans that we have. The virtual stuff, like all the Jamboards, aren't available online yet, but our goal is to get those out so that you could make copies of them and potentially use them with your own students, this exact activity, if that's something that was of interest to you. But here you can see our educational materials page, and maybe Jessica can drop it in the chat if you want access to that. We have a couple of different activities, and they range from grades. Exploring your watershed, this one really leverages the raindrop tool, which Jessica showed you how to use, and it gives you step-by-step, here's how to make a map with the raindrop tool on it, so you could do that for your own location. This suite of ones right here, the ecosystem services, has 6 different mini lessons on what ecosystem services are. And so they range, they increase in difficulty. They're simple. You could just do bingo, have your kids print it, go outside of the clipboard and see what ecosystem services are around. And then there's another one that I was telling you about, which is the buckets of benefits, where they just use common items and compare those to features of ecosystem services and ecosystems in general. All of these, Todd, what am I going to say, are?
Free.
Free. They're totally free. They are standards aligned. They are like ripped and ready to go. You can print them today, use them tomorrow. This eco health lesson is the one that you just did. And then the last one that we have, Jessica created, and I absolutely love, it's called this Greenway case study lesson. And she mentioned that we're overhauling it right now with the Office of Environmental Justice from the Environmental Protection Agency. So we hope to have that out by soon. It's like a nebulous, I don't know when, with some EJ elements built in so that potentially, I think we're doing this. We're doing the Greenway case study activity with you and your students, so you won't even have to lead it. I think we're gonna lead it. Am I right about that piece?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So those are all here. Some of them have videos. There are links to, down here on the right, I really like this part because these link to ways other teachers have used EnviroAtlas. So if we don't have it, maybe somebody else has done something that you like that could be helpful for you too. And I'm always here to help and would love to be of service to you however I can. So feel free to email me anytime with questions about.
Jenna and Jessica, as these guys develop stuff and kind of go through things, hey, would it be possible that we take their stuff and maybe do the same thing and ship it to you guys and put it up there too, maybe?
100%.
That's our dream.
What? Let's do this thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, we would really, really love that. Right now, we only have 4 things up, and we'd love to have more. People ask all the time, like, do you have something on this? Do you have something on this? And I'm like, I only work part-time. So, like, any way that you want to help, we'd love to have your help. And then you get a lesson plan featured on the APA website, which, I don't know, I think it's pretty awesome. Cool, great question. Any other questions about anything?
Yeah, about anything. I think
I guess we should like close it down and then we'll go over to the going over homework and stuff. And Jessica, you were going to talk quickly about your community story, I think.
Oh, yes, you are correct. So you guys got a really quick introduction to the interactive map, actually a little bit quicker than I wanted, so I hope we can leverage those teacher sessions. And one thing I will be looking for from you guys is if you get into using the map and you want more of the type of training that you saw today, we can certainly schedule something formal if you guys feel like more time is needed with the map, so I'd be curious to know if that's something that you want as you kind of get in and use the map. Kind of tying back to where we started with what is community to us, and how do we kind of explore our communities, and how does data help us explore our communities. This is something I mentioned to Jenna that she thought might be helpful to share, but I've been working on EnviroAtlas since 2011, and we've been online since 2014, and I've been on this project for a long time, and I've explored a lot of data and I've done a lot of things, but one thing I realized is that often, we go cool places and we explore new places and we learn all these things about other places, but we don't always do the same thing in our community, and we don't explore information in our own community in the same way that we might explore somewhere else, where we go, visit a museum or we look at historical sites somewhere else, and we don't do that at home. But one thing that really stuck out to me a couple of years ago, we got some new data sets that looked at like hazardous waste sites and facilities and where they're located. And I'd never really thought about it. And I went into EnviroAtlas and I pulled up my community and I started looking at these data sets, and little did I know that there were multiple hazardous waste sites within a mile of my home. And it was something that I never knew. I'm in the environmental field. I am used to using data, and it never occurred to me to see what was there. So I think, part of what we're doing here is kind of exploring our communities, but also like maybe expanding what we know about our own communities and information that we have available to us to help do some of that. So I hope that as you guys start getting into the Atlas and you can start looking at data, that there's more you can learn and kind of just, see and maybe discover some things that you didn't know before about your own communities and what that might mean for the projects that you ultimately develop and what you ultimately do with your project piece projects.
And whatever your story is, we just want to help you tell it. So we're not going to tell you what to do. We're not going to tell you what project to pick. We probably have data to support it, whatever it is. But more importantly, we just really want to provide you with the tools and resources you need to tell a story in your community that either inspires or maybe even demands change. And we want to empower you and your students to be those local level decision makers on whatever that topic is that you think matters. And if that topic happens to be water, I know a lot of you are putting water in the spreadsheet and water pollution and runoff. We are the next collaborating person we're working with for this whole shebang is Earth Echo, and they're gonna let you in on their water challenge. And so we are really trying to connect you not just with EnviroAtlas data, but like also with Roots and Shoots and also with Earth Echo, so that you can have as many people in your, what's it called? As many cheerleaders. I'm like losing words now. Just as many supporters as we can give you to go forward. And I think right now is obviously one of the hardest times our nation's going to go through in recent history for multiple reasons. But most importantly is that like you all matter so much right now. You are absolutely the backbone, keeping your communities together and keeping your kids together. So you matter very much, your students matter very much, and those stories matter, both from you and your stories. So even when we're all really far apart, I mean, we've got people from across multiple states here, I think we can come together to make some real change, even in this virtual setting, preserve the parts of our communities we want to preserve, and change the parts of our communities that maybe need to be changed for the better.
Jenna.
So we're happy to have you on, with us on that.
Jenna.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you know, I think it also is worth mentioning, I think our world needs our kids now more than ever. They need that ray of sunshine, that hope, that driving force.
And enthusiasm. Like, I'm so tired. I need your help.
Yeah, that's what they need. And it's our kids, and for us to give them the tools that they need to make that happen, is where it's at. I can't say thank you enough.
So I'm gonna pull up the teacher office hour slides so that those are up. And then Jessica and I are going to stay on until 6 to talk to you about any questions you might have. And Jessica, did you want to say anything else, or just we'll open it up for questions, comments, collaborative?
Yeah, just any questions that folks have. Yeah, I think if you go ahead and pull up the teacher sessions, since that's a question we got. Yeah, and just if you guys have any questions for us now, and like I said, you know, we're really going to use those teacher sessions. We divided them by grade level. You can come to any or all, but we do recognize that depending on, the age of your students and kind of the level, that the type of thing that you might decide to do is going to be different. And so we want to offer you some opportunities to kind of come to a session in, the level that makes the most sense for you. But you could come to every single session and ask as many questions as you want. The way we're going to do these is if you can come and you have questions, if there's things you want to see, if there's stuff you want demoed, if you have anything like that, that's what we'll use these for, is just to give a way to explore more information and to make sure you guys feel comfortable with the interactive map, with the EcoHealth browser, with any other resources that we have. There are a couple other features and functions I want to show you guys, so we'll probably carve out some time outside of teacher sessions, maybe in some of the formal programming that we have, to be sure that we show you how some of those things work, including how to bring in the Google My Maps into our mapping application. So you can create your points, you can have all your students participate on a Google My Map, and then you can download it as a KML and bring it right into EnviroAtlas. So we'll show you how to do all of that. And I'll just reiterate that we do have a lot of data, but we know there's other data out there. And I think especially for students, it'll be important for them to kind of see what's out there, what else is out there, what other information is of interest to them that they might want to pull in. So I'll carve out some time to cover those pieces that we didn't get a chance to do today.
Hey, Jessica.
Yep.
So two things. I wanted to just remind everybody that the Operation Endangered Species website, and we're going to put the website in the chat. So we have what's upcoming next, which, on Wednesday there's Earth Echo. And so we're going to put the office hours that Jessica was just mentioning on the website as well. And then this is being recorded, so you'll also get the YouTube of the recording. And then Jessica, we're gonna send out meeting invitations for those through Microsoft Teams, correct?
Correct. Thank you for bringing that up, Megan. So Jenna and I, unfortunately, cannot organize Google Meets or Zoom, so we have to send you a Teams invite. You should all be able to get in there very easily. If anybody has any trouble at any point, please let us know. But we'll give you some directions in the email. Basically, you can join from your web browser, similar to how you can from Zoom, so that you don't have to download anything or do anything like that, and you can just join the Teams, and we'll be able to share our screens and answer your questions and show you anything you need. And then I'll drop Operation Endangered Species into the chat, but we need to add the teacher sessions to it.
Yes.
And there are some homework assignments that you can see up here. We try to make these very small, but we do think that we're trying to build a community between y'all as much as we're trying to build your nuclear communities within your schools and students. So one of them is to do the EnviroAtlas web quest, and that's one of the activities that will just help you navigate around the EnviroAtlas interactive map, and that is linked. And then the other one is to attend one of the office hour sessions. We really hope you'll make it there. We have talked about potentially offering another suite of office hours where it's separated by topic. Once you kind of have an idea of what your students' topic interest might be, we could have like a water pollution group or a protected lands group, and be neat. And then the one thing that's like really homeworky is for you to write out your story, whatever you think it is, using some of the data that you learned about today to write your story. And we made a little template for you that can be found here. And it's there's a Google folder where you can drop it when you're done. But it basically is like, how has your community story changed from when you originally thought of it, when you grabbed your item? And if possible, build on your story using themes from the EnviroAtlas session. Or did you find out something new that you might not have noticed before? And reflecting on how your students might have similar or different perspectives. You don't have to do all those things, but those are just suggestions for a couple things. And I'll be honest, like the reason why we're giving you this is so if you want to do the same kind of stuff we did today with your students, you've got it. This is like a package. The hope is that you like walk away from here and you're like, I could replicate a lot of this, if not like the nitty gritty of the mapping part that Jessica did, because Jessica's her own state of miracle that we can't all replicate, but you could do like the story part and the mapping part and the writing part, and maybe that's something that you could use. Put your own twist on it, whatever you want, and then you can just drop your story into this folder, and the hope is that you'll read 2 stories from the folder and make comments to them on what you think or how it ties in with yours. The way that you can decide which 2 stories to read, we're hoping that these titles, like I made this up, Todd, completely, so sorry for using you, but like water quality in Chicago, maybe if you're also interested in water quality, you would read Todd's story. Or maybe if you're also interested in shifting landscapes, you would read my story. I haven't written a story, but does that make sense? Get the basic idea with the homework. Okay, cool.
One question real quick. What day is the high school one? Is it the 10th or the 20th?
Monday the 10th.
10th, perfect. Thank you.
I can pull that slide back up too.
And I just put this in the chat, but I know you guys are like, you've been hanging with us for a while, and I really appreciate it. And you guys are probably ready to just call it a day. But if there's anything else you want to see, if you had any specific questions related to the mapping application or anything else, we're happy to do a show and tell of any kind if you have any other follow-ups you want.
So on the page, it says Monday the 20th.
Yep.
Oh, should it say 10th?
Yep.
That's my bad. I made that typo. Like I said, I'm tired. I need the kids.
That might have been the one I changed on my version, but not yours, Jenna. I can't remember.
Sorry. Good catch, whoever said that.
Yes, thank you.
I did get an anonymous question, and it goes out to Paul.
Oh, yeah.
The question was, were you a talk show host in a previous lifetime?
No, but to be completely honest, when I was 8 years old, I had a radio show on a local radio station in town. The radio station was behind my house, and I did 5 shows a year. And I always wanted to be a disc jockey. I was from the era of Johnny Fever and WKRP in Cincinnati, and so I did 5 shows a year as a disc jockey, and I brought kids in and I did all my own interviews, and so no, but I always wanted to be.
I feel like Todd has lived 800 lives. That's amazing.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
Oh, Paul, sorry.
Yeah, and what's funny is my parents still have all the shows on the old reel-to-reel tapes, and so every once in a while, my mom will break one out and go, "Oh, that was so cute," you know, that type of thing.
What was your handle? Do you have a call like a?
No, I didn't. I didn't have one of those special ones, but I still think that I got time to figure one out.
Yeah.
True.
It's a calling for you.
You know, I always do that with my kids too. If you guys don't do something crazy with your students, I'm sure you all do. I always do the weatherman. Looks like we're gonna have a high pressure system coming out of the west, gonna blow on through. Looks like it's gonna be sunshine tomorrow. So that's what I do every day.
That's great.
It's dumb.
All right, so hey, we all good here, folks?
Any questions? You can also email us. Do you want me to put it?
We're going to record it. We'd love to see you for Earth Echo, but we know having 2 things in the same week, it's only 2 hours, but we'd love to have you on Wednesday. If you didn't get the invitation, let us know. And the EnviroAtlas folks are going to stay on if anybody has any questions.
Before we do, and everybody takes off, from deep bottom of my heart, deep bottom of the team's heart, we can't say thank you enough. We're just humbled to be a part of what you guys are doing. We're excited about everything that's going on, and I just want to say how amazing it is that we're on the edge of lunatic fringe, if you wish, but it's just the most amazing thing in the world.
I'm not on the fringe. I'm all the way in.
I always do this with my kids too. Hey, my favorite thing is I always wanted to have a boat called the Event Horizon. And everybody asks me, what's that? It's the edge of the black hole, baby. Here we go. Too much.
Hey, Karen asked a good question. When's the homework due date? I don't know.
Yeah, I was just answering that. I think it could be helpful if you go ahead and look into the homework before your teacher hour session. So that way, if you have any issues or there's anything you want to ask, you will have kind of at least looked through the homework. I mean, you know, certainly doesn't have to be completely done by then, but at least you'll know if you have any questions to ask.
And I think it'd be really helpful to get the stories read and reviewed by 2 other people before you start school. So that as you go into planning your projects, whatever it might be, you just kind of like have some feedback from other people or have maybe connected with other people that might be doing something similar to you.
And so, do we have a due date?
Well, no, because everyone goes back to school on different days. Do the web quest, do the EnviroAtlas web quest before the teacher hours. Do the essay before you start school, and read 2 other people's essays before you start school. How's that, fair?
We can send you guys an email on that. But it's a good question. We actually didn't set a date, so thanks, Karen, for asking that question. Someone asked about what is on Wednesday. I'm giving you guys a link to Earth Echo's website. So Earth Echo is going to do an overview of what they do. They're going to give an overview of their water challenge. They're going to talk about data collection. So folks that were thinking about sort of collecting data and water quality data and kind of getting kits to collect information, they're going to talk about all that kind of stuff related to water on Wednesday. And that'll only be 2 hours, so you won't have to do another 3 hours. We'll do 2 hours on Wednesday. And then have some time, I think, to kind of just recap all the resources we've learned about and make sure everybody's good to go.
Right there, and just to clarify, they're going to be presenting for about an hour, then I'm going to be presenting for about half an hour on like the curriculum component in terms of what we're going to be looking for from you all first and second quarter. So I'll give an overview on that part. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. Adios, everybody. Thanks for coming. Great to have you a part of this.
Bye. Thanks for listening to us talk for 3 hours.
We'll see you guys later. Great job,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, Jordan. Bye, Kevin.
All right.
Thanks for all the hard work. It's a lot to present for 3 hours, so I think you guys paced things out well. It seemed to work out.
Oh, good. It's so hard to know. I'm like, is everyone going to be bleeding out of their eyes?
Yeah, I don't know anymore either. I haven't been in the classroom for what feels like, I feel retired now, so I don't, it's hard to even know what it feels like to be in the classroom anymore. But
yeah,
we're going to be back in school with just kids 1 day a week. Well, 3 different groups 1 day a week. So in about 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, we'll be actually like face-to-face again. So
wow.
weird. But I'm going to be doing a lot of this on the other 4 days. So I'm trying to take some tips and tricks to figure out how to make Zoom or Google Meets class like a little more engaging. So that aspect of this has been helpful as well. So
I've seen a lot of people do that kind of like scavenger hunt stuff with a lot of different things. So it's always one way to like move them around.
Yeah, I really like that idea. That's cool.
Good luck.
All right, I'm gonna head out. I think I'm actually gonna try to check out that Chicago thing. I won't really have to participate, so I can like eat dinner and just kind of watch it. But I'm curious what they're doing. So one of big
I can't wait to hear. Hopefully, we'll have time for that on Wednesday.
Yeah, with a ton of resources, I'm excited to see what they, come up with.
Yeah, if you could report out, Jordan, I won't be able to make it. I've got bird monitoring I have to do, and so. But if you can,
that's awesome. Where do you bird monitor?
What's that?
Where do you bird monitor?
Near me, there's a forest urban, so I do the purple martins, and this I think is the last day where they're probably all going to be out. So they all would have started to fly by now. So,
do you enter your data in eBird, or are you like working with a different organization? Or
I do eBird.
Okay,
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Todd. We can show you how to pull in eBird data into the Atlas too. Remind me.
Very cool. I'm gonna go check out that webinar, but I'll see you guys later.
And it's in an hour, Jordan.
What?
It's in an hour. It's at 6 o'clock.
Oh, 6 Central.
Right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, most of you guys are on Central Time.
Go outside for an hour.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I am. I think I'm going to go for a quick bike ride. So, all right. Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Kevin.
You guys, I did have a question on uploading data because I've got some lead lateral data from Milwaukee to be able to upload all the addresses. What would be a way that I could do that under that add data tab?
So the thing about add data, and I'll show it to you really quick. The thing about add data is, and actually I added